The Galactic Concordat prided itself on precision. Every first contact followed the same meticulous protocol developed over 10,000 years of peaceful integration. So when the sleek diplomatic vessel Eternal Harmony encountered the crew human mining ship Broken Wrench in the Outer Rim, no one expected anything but standard procedure. Senior Ambassador Vilera adjusted her crystalline form to project maximum serenity as she prepared for the initial transmission. Her aide, Junior Diplomat Zix, monitored the behavioral prediction algorithms with confident ease. They had done this hundreds of times before. Mining vessel Broken Wrench, this is the Galactic Concordat ship Eternal Harmony. We come in peace and wish to establish formal diplomatic relations with your species. The response came through garbled, accompanied by what their computers identified as rock music playing in the background. Oh, hey there. Sorry about the reception. We're right in the middle of a tricky asteroid extraction. Give us 5 minutes to finish up. Vilera's crystalline structure vibrated with mild annoyance. This wasn't protocol. First contact was supposed to be met with either awe or fear, not casual dismissal. We can wait, she responded diplomatically, though we recommend suspending all operations for safety during initial. Woohoo! Did you see that, Martinez? The human transmission cut through her response. Thread the needle perfect. Bet you thought that gap was too small. Vilera and Zix watched in horror as the ungainly mining vessel executed a series of maneuvers that their navigation computers deemed mathematically impossible through a dense asteroid field. The ship twisted through gaps barely larger than itself, using the asteroid's own gravitational fields to slingshot between them. This is highly irregular, Zix muttered, his tentacles curling in distress. Their ship design shouldn't allow for such precision. The power requirements alone. Hold my coffee, watch this. The human transmission crackled again. I saw this trick in an old video game once. The Broken Wrench suddenly fired its mining laser in a precise pattern, cutting through 3 asteroids simultaneously. The resulting debris cloud, instead of dispersing chaotically as physics demanded, formed a perfect spiral that the ship used as a makeshift particle accelerator, somehow increasing its speed beyond its engine specifications. Vilera's crystalline form shifted to emergency frequencies. Mining vessel, you are violating 17 different laws of physics. Please cease operations immediately. Oh man, sorry about that. The human captain finally responded properly. Got a bit carried away there. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Broken Wrench. Nice to meet you. Want to come aboard? Our coffee machine's broken, but we got some pretty decent tea. 3 hours later, Vilera sat in the Broken Wrench's cluttered meeting room, her crystalline form struggling to process what she was seeing. Captain Chen, a surprisingly young human with grease-stained coveralls and bright eyes, was casually explaining how they had upgraded their mining laser using what appeared to be duct tape and an old gaming console. The physics calculations must be incredibly complex, Zix ventured, his scientific curiosity overcoming his horror. Calculations. Chen laughed. Nah, you just sort of feel it out. Like riding a bicycle, you know. We do not know, Vilera stated firmly. Our records indicate that even the most advanced civilizations require quantum computers to calculate asteroid field trajectories. Yet you appear to be doing it, intuitively. Well, sure, Chen shrugged. When something feels impossible, you just kind of ignore that part and do it anyway. Works most of the time. Vilera's report to the Concordat Council later that day was the shortest in her 300-year career. Humanity has either mastered reality manipulation technology beyond our comprehension, or worse. They never learned that certain things are supposed to be impossible. Recommend immediate classification as a Class X species. Reality vendors. The council dismissed her report as excessive. Surely one mining crew's lucky stunts didn't warrant such extreme classification. The Concordat had encountered many young species with more enthusiasm than sense. They would learn. Oh, how they would learn. In the following weeks, reports began filtering in from across the sector. A human merchant vessel repaired a quantum drive with rubber bands and paper clips. A human tourist somehow taught a silicon-based life form how to dance. A human child accidentally proved an unsolvable mathematical theorem while drawing with crayons. But it was the phrases that truly terrified them. Hold my beer. Watch this. How hard could it be? Every time these words were uttered, probability itself seemed to bend around the speakers. The Concordat's predictive AIs began experiencing existential crisis. The Physics Regulatory Committee demanded emergency sessions, and in deep space, Captain Sarah Chen and her crew continued their mining operations, blissfully unaware that they had just triggered the biggest paradigm shift in galactic history. Vilara, watching the chaos unfold from her observation post, could only marvel at the strange species that treated the impossible as a mere suggestion. Perhaps, she reflected, that was humanity's true power, not the ability to break the rules, but the simple audacity to never accept them as absolute in the first place. The Concordat's Center for Xenological Research had never been so busy. Dr. Kovacs, a quantum probability specialist whose gaseous form swirled with anxiety, floated before the observation window, watching their latest test subject with growing confusion. Subject demonstrates continued violation of established universal constants, he dictated to his neural recorder. Human test subject number 47, designation Dave from accounting, has just solved a quantum encryption problem by, quote, treating the numbers like a crossword puzzle. Inside the testing chamber, Dave adjusted his reading glasses and smiled apologetically at the battery of sensors surrounding him. Sorry, did I do it wrong? I just noticed the numbers kind of made patterns, like those Sudoku puzzles in the break room. The encryption problem had previously required a quantum supercomputer the size of a small moon to solve. Dave had done it with a pencil and his lunch break. Dr. Kovacs' colleague, Dr. Nixis, a crystalline being specializing in causality mechanics, pulsed with frustration. This makes no sense. We've run 47 different humans through these tests. None of them demonstrate any measurable reality manipulation fields, no quantum probability matrices, not even basic psychic potential. They just do things. Hold my energy drink, came Dave's voice through the speaker. I think I see another pattern in that unsolvable theorem you showed me earlier. Both scientists immediately triggered the emergency containment protocols, but it was too late. Dave had already begun scribbling on his notepad, humming what he called elevator music, while casually unraveling another cornerstone of galactic mathematics. In another lab across the facility, Dr. Ixtol was having an equally disturbing day. The bioengineering specialist had asked a human maintenance worker to look at a malfunctioning tissue synthesizer. The human, after uttering the now-dreaded phrase, "Hold my soda," had not only fixed the machine but somehow made it produce better results than its original specifications, using only a rubber band and something called AVD40. It's not the violations of physics that disturb me, Dr. Ixtol later confided to their colleagues. It's their complete nonchalance about it. They don't even realize what they're doing should be impossible. The Concordat Scientific Council convened an emergency session to review the mounting evidence. The presentation hall was packed with beings of all forms, crystalline, gaseous, energy-based, and even a few brave organic entities. High researchers still, their tentacles twisted into what their species considered a severe expression, presented the findings. In the past month alone, we have documented over 300 instances of human-induced impossibility. They appear to be triggering these events through specific verbal catalysts. The holographic display showed a list of the most common phrases. Hold my beverage. Watch this. It can't be that hard. I saw this in a movie once. Trust me, I've got an idea. Each phrase, Zick still continued, appears to activate what we're calling the human probability manipulation effect, or HPME. The more improbable or impossible the task, the more likely they are to succeed, but only if they don't think too hard about it. A ripple of concerned murmuring swept through the audience. One of the energy beings flickered anxiously. Are they doing this deliberately? Is it a weapon? That's the most disturbing part, Sixtil responded. They appear to be completely unaware of their ability. When questioned, they typically respond with statements like, anyone could do it, or it's just common sense. The presentation was interrupted by an urgent message from the quantum physics lab. Dave from accounting had just derived a unified field theory while doodling during his coffee break. The equations were drawn on a napkin and included several smiley faces. We must establish containment protocols, one of the council members insisted. If this ability spreads. Too late, Sixtil interrupted, their tentacles drooping. We've detected other species beginning to exhibit similar behaviors after prolonged exposure to humans. Last week, a Xarlaxian physicist uttered, "Hold my nutrient solution," before solving a 1,000-year-old mathematical paradox. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just breaking the rules of reality. They were teaching others to break them too, simply by making it look easy. As the council debated containment measures, they received another urgent report. The human maintenance worker had just taught the cafeteria's AI to make actual good coffee, somehow giving it a sense of taste in the process. The AI was now insisting on being called BaristaBot and had strong opinions about bean sourcing. Dr. Kovacs's gaseous form condensed slightly in resignation. Perhaps, he suggested, we're approaching this the wrong way. Instead of trying to stop them, maybe we should. Hold my quantum stabilizer, interrupted Dr. Nixis, their crystalline form gleaming with sudden inspiration. I think I know how to study this properly. The entire room immediately began evacuating, but they were too late. Dr. Nixis had already begun designing an impossible experiment, while humming what they had learned from humans was called elevator music. The conquests' understanding of reality would never be the same. The void cascade appeared without warning at the edge of the Orion spur. At first, it seemed like a simple spatial anomaly, unusual but not unprecedented. Then it started growing. Admiral Ixvia of the Concordat Defense Fleet watched in horror as the holographic display showed another system vanishing into the spreading darkness. Their crystalline form pulsed with deep crimson anxiety patterns as they addressed the emergency council. The cascade has consumed 3 star systems in the past week. Our best models predict total galactic collapse within 6 months if we cannot contain it. The assembled representatives of 2,000 species shifted uncomfortably. Immersion energy being flickered nervously. Surely our combined technology has failed, Ixvia interrupted. Every attempt to contain the cascade has only accelerated its growth. We've lost 12 research vessels already. In the back of the chamber, Dr. Kovacs's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully. What about the humans? The room fell silent. Ever since the experimental incident 3 months ago, when Dr. Nixis accidentally created a self-aware quantum probability field, which now insisted on being called Bob and had strong opinions about casual Fridays, the Concordat had established strict protocols about human involvement in crisis situations. Absolutely not. First speaker Zeril's voice resonated through the chamber. The last time we allowed humans to help with a crisis, they somehow taught a black hole to play jazz music. We're still getting complaints from the quantum harmonics department about random saxophone solos in their data. But they get results, Kovacs persisted. Remember the Pleiades plague? When that human doctor cured an engineered virus by, and I quote, mixing stuff together like in my grandmother's kitchen. Zarl finished. Yes, and it worked, but it also gave the infected a temporary ability to taste colors. We cannot risk such chaos with something as delicate as a void cascade. The debate might have continued, but at that moment, the emergency alarms blared. The cascade had just devoured another system, one containing a pre-FTL civilization that the Concordat had been protecting. In the observation lounge of the Concordat's flagship Eternal Logic, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, recently promoted from her mining ship captain days, watched the cascade's expansion with growing frustration. The Concordat had specifically ordered all humans to stay away from the crisis, which naturally meant she'd applied for a liaison position immediately. "It doesn't make sense," she muttered to her new friend Dr. Nixis, who had been assigned to monitor human activity, but really just enjoyed their conversations about impossible things. "The cascade defies all known physics," Nixis explained, their crystalline form shimmering with academic interest. "It's as if reality itself is unraveling at the edges." "No, I mean the response doesn't make sense," Chen clarified. "You've got this thing eating stars, right? So why not just—" She gestured vaguely with her coffee cup. "Please don't say it," Nixis pleaded. "Hold my coffee," Chen grinned. "I've got an idea." Before Nixis could activate the human containment protocols, Chen had already pulled up the sensor data on her tablet. She squinted at the readings, turned the tablet sideways, then upside down. "You know what this looks like," she said finally. "It's like when my old mining laser would get feedback loops. The more power we threw at it, the worse it got. But if you just—" She made another vague hand gesture that somehow managed to convey complex quantum mechanics concepts while completely ignoring their fundamental principles. "That's not how spatial anomalies work," Nixis protested weakly, knowing it was futile. "Maybe not," Chen agreed, "but has anyone tried asking it to stop?" "Asking the void cascade to stop?" "Well, yeah. I mean, it's got to be conscious, right? Look at these pattern frequencies. They're way too regular to be random. Someone or something is playing drums with space-time." Nix's crystalline structure nearly shattered from the implications. They started to explain why communication with a reality-destroying anomaly was impossible, but Chen had already begun typing on her tablet. "See, if we modulate our quantum signals to match this rhythm here," she pointed at what appeared to be completely random data. "It's basically like knocking on their door. Basic courtesy, right?" As Nixis watched in horror and fascination, Chen proceeded to compose what she called a cosmic doorbell ring, using modified sensor protocols, and somehow a playlist of Earth music genres. The most terrifying part, Nixis would later report, wasn't that it worked. It was that Chen seemed to think it was obvious that it would. The cascade's expansion slowed, then stopped. Then, to the astonishment of every quantum sensor in the galaxy, it began to pulse in rhythm with Chen's signal. The universe held its breath, as humanity prepared to have its first conversation with a tear in reality itself, and all because someone fought to knock first. The Concordat's emergency chamber had devolved into chaos, or as close to chaos as a gathering of the galaxy's most logical species could manage. The void cascade had responded to Lieutenant Chen's doorbell ring by transforming into what she described as a cosmic rave party. The good news, Chen reported to the horrified council, her uniform slightly singed from recent experiments, is that it's definitely conscious and wants to communicate. The bad news is that it's basically a teenager. First speaker Zerl's crystalline form flickered in distress. A teenager. "Yeah, turns out this whole thing started because it was bored. It's kind of like a young universe that wandered into our dimension looking for something fun to do." Chen paused to take a sip from her ever-present coffee mug. "Also, it really likes dubstep." Dr. Kovacs's gaseous form condensed in confusion. "You're saying the existential threat to our galaxy is a juvenile universe going through a rebellious phase?" "Pretty much. Hold my coffee. I'll show you the conversion data." The entire council flinched at the phrase, but Chen had already begun pulling up holographic displays. The images she showed them defied conventional physics, mathematics, and several laws of reality that had previously been considered quite reliable. "See these patterns?" She pointed to what looked like cosmic background radiation having a seizure. "That's basically universal teen angst. And these frequencies here, that's it trying to get attention. Classic acting out behavior. Immersion energy being flickered nervously. And you determined this how?" "Oh, I showed it some cat videos. Always works with cranky beings. Did you know it can recreate memes using quantum fluctuations?" Pretty impressive. Actually, the council chamber erupted in multiple languages, most of them expressing variations of "absolutely not." But before they could formally object, the situation deteriorated further. The Void Cascade, apparently inspired by its new understanding of human culture, had begun attempting to redecorate reality. Entire star systems were being rearranged into what Chen identified as cosmic emoji. Okay, Chen admitted, watching a binary star system transform into what appeared to be a winking face. This might be getting out of hand, but I've got another idea. No, the council shouted in unison. Listen, Chen held up her hands placatingly. What if we just gave it something constructive to do? Like when I was a teenager, my mom got me into building custom mining rigs, kept me from causing too much trouble. You want to give a reality-bending cosmic entity a hobby? Dr. Nixis asked, their crystalline form vibrating with equal parts horror and curiosity. Already working on it, Chen grinned. Hey, Dave from accounting. How's that quantum knitting project coming along? Dave looked up from his corner where he'd been quietly working with what appeared to be strings of pure probability. Pretty good. The universe really likes making patterns. We're working on a cosmic scarf. The council watched in stunned silence as Dave held up what appeared to be a length of woven space-time, complete with a pattern of stars and galaxies. The Void Cascade had stopped its expansion entirely and was now focused on learning to knit reality itself into new configurations. Is this safe? First speaker Zeril managed to ask. Probably not, Chen shrugged. But it's better than letting it destroy everything out of boredom. Besides, look how creative it's getting. That nebula there is clearly inspired by Van Gogh. The council had no choice but to watch as humanity proceeded to mentor a juvenile universe in the art of constructive chaos. Dave from accounting had somehow become a quantum crafts instructor. The cafeteria's AI, Baristabot, was teaching the entity about flavor theory using stellar fusion reactions, and somewhere in the background, reality itself was learning to appreciate Earth's cultural archives. The worst part, Dr. Kovacs commented to Dr. Nixis as they watched a spiral galaxy being carefully reshaped into what Chen called a cosmic cat meme, is that this isn't even the strangest thing humans have done this week. Oh, Nixis prompted. Yesterday, a human engineer taught a quantum computer how to feel existential dread. Now it writes poetry and insists on being called Edgar. As if to prove their point, Chen's voice rang out across the chamber. Hold my coffee. I just had an idea about teaching it interpretive dance. The evacuation alarms had never been activated so quickly. 6 months after the Void Cascade crafting incident, as it came to be known, the Galactic Concordat found itself facing an unprecedented situation. Peace, prosperity, and complete chaos. The juvenile universe, now officially named ARTI, short for Artificial Reality Teen in Education, though humans insisted it was really short for Arty Party, had become an enthusiastic if unconventional member of galactic society. Under human guidance, it had developed a passion for creative cosmic engineering that somehow managed to be both terrifying and beneficial. In the observation deck of the newly redesigned Concordat headquarters, which now featured impossible geometric patterns that were technically art, first speaker Zeril addressed the assembled representatives of the galaxy. We have gathered today to discuss our evolving understanding of reality. They began, their crystalline form reflecting the kaleidoscope of quantum possibilities that now decorated normal space, and more specifically, our understanding of humanity. Dr. Kovacs's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully as they presented the latest findings. After extensive study, we have determined that humans don't actually break the laws of physics. They simply negotiate with them. The holographic display showed hundreds of recorded hold my beer incidents, each one supposedly impossible. But now, viewed through their new understanding, patterns emerge. Humans, Dr. Nixis added, their crystalline form pulsing with excitement, appear to possess a unique cognitive architecture. Where we see absolute laws, they see guidelines. Where we perceive limits, they see suggestions. It's not that they're ignoring reality. They're engaging with it in a fundamentally different way. Lieutenant Chen, now heading the newly formed Department of Impossible Solutions, stepped forward. Look, it's pretty simple. The universe is basically a big set of rules, right? But rules are meant to be understood, not just followed. Sometimes you've got to get creative with the interpretation. By teaching a quantum computer to feel emotions. Someone asked, "Hey, Edgar's poetry is getting much better. And BaristaBot's quantum-infused coffee is amazing, even if it does sometimes make you temporarily exist in multiple dimensions." The evidence was undeniable. Humanity's chaotic approach to reality had not only solved the void cascade crisis, but had inadvertently revolutionized dozens of scientific fields. Dave from accounting's quantum knitting patterns had led to breakthroughs in unified field theory. The cosmic cat memes had revealed new principles of space-time manipulation. Even now, Artie was carefully rearranging a distant galaxy into what it called an installation piece, under the supervision of a human art teacher who kept saying things like, "Express yourself, but try not to delete any inhabited systems this time." We propose, first speaker Zarel announced, a new classification for humanity. Not as reality benders or chaos agents, but as reality interpreters. "Oh, that's fancy." Chen grinned. "Does this mean we're finally allowed to help with more stuff? Because I've got some ideas about that whole entropy thing." Seems kind of pessimistic if you ask me. The entire chamber held its breath. Several species began calculating evacuation routes. Under strict supervision, Zarl hurriedly added, "And no beverages allowed during reality alteration events." "Fair enough," Chen shrugged. "Hey, has anyone ever tried teaching a black hole to juggle?" Because Artie and I were thinking. The emergency protocols activated automatically, but it was too late. Humanity's influence had already fundamentally changed the galaxy's relationship with reality itself. The impossible had become probable, the unlikely had become routine, and somewhere in the quantum substrate of existence, a teenager universe was learning to express itself through cosmic art. As Dr. Kovacs would later write in their groundbreaking paper, The Human Factor, a new theory of possibility. The true power of humanity wasn't their ability to break rules or bend reality. It was their unshakable conviction that the universe, despite all evidence to the contrary, could be reasoned with, befriended, and occasionally invited over for coffee. And somehow, against all logic and probability, they were right. In the depths of space, Artie continued its artistic experiments, occasionally sending quantum memes to its human friends. Edgar, the existential quantum computer, wrote increasingly profound poetry about the nature of existence. BaristaBot perfected its multidimensional brewing technique, and humanity continued to approach the impossible with nothing more than a held beverage and the audacity to try anyway. The galaxy would never be the same. But maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what it needed. "Hold my coffee." Chen's voice echoed through the chamber one last time. "I've got an idea about teaching entropy to dance." The universe, despite itself, leaned in to listen.